homie.
What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and I'm here to recap for you 2022 World's Strongest Man Day 2, the final day of World's Strongest Man for this year, 2022. What happened? What are all the results for every athlete on all three of the Day 2 events? And who overachieved and underachieved? I think that'll be some data that you might not find anywhere else, especially not with the numerical detail I'm going to give you and you might find useful. So let's dive into it. All right, so just giving you a quick recap of how this is laid out. I have predicted number of points for this athlete on this event, given the historical data, the points they actually got, the difference between the two. So red is a poor performance, underachieving, green is overachieving, or green could be a 0, which means they did exactly what expected. Research would be the data that supported the prediction. Performance is what they actually did on the event. Running points would be their total points of all of the events together. Right, so this will be the fourth event in the finals, first event on day 2, so this will be a compilation of all the points together. So you can see overall where they're placing, which is here. So for example, AWESEOME was expected based on his 59.4 rating in bus pulls or truck pull type events. Not everybody's done a bus pull, to get 5 points. In fact, he got 1 point, so he underperformed pretty significantly. His performance that contributed to that was 53.22 seconds, and that gives him 7 points total overall after 4 events, and he is in 9th place overall, even though he was 10th place in this event. Hope that makes sense. Now, the other cool thing I'll say is if you go search Instagram on some of the different athletes' Instagram profiles or even World's Strongest Man, you might find what it looked like, and I think it was actually the Sacramento City bus. So it was really, really cool to watch that pull. Next up on our list, Athor Melstead expected to get 6 points, in fact got 2, so also underperformed pretty significantly. His rating was 51.32. I'm sorry, his rating was 60, so it's a decent rating, but comes away only with 2 points. Performance, 51.32 seconds for Athor Melstead. He has 6 points overall now in the contest and 10th place overall. Next up on the list, Mitchell Hooper. We had predicted to get 1 point because I just had no data on him ever doing this. In fact, comes away with 3 points, so overperforms that. Not a lot of points, but does better than expected. 49.24 second pull for him, and he now has 22 points overall and is in 6th place overall. Moving on up the list for the bus pull performances, we had Maxime Boudreau, who underperformed by quite a bit. We expected 8 points out of him. He comes away with 4 points. His rating was really high, 74.69, so not sure what happened here. Maybe a technique malfunction. 47.2 second pull for him. Maxime Boudreau now with 15.5 points overall in 8th place. Moving on up the list, we have Luke Stoltman, who we predicted to get 7 points, comes away with 5 points, so he underperforms as well. His rating was 66.67 coming into this. A 47-second flat pull for Luke Stoltman, and now 20.5 points overall, 7th place. Trey Mitchell, who we expected to come away with 4 points on the bus pull, actually gets 6, so he overachieves. His rating was 56.25. If you compare, Luke Stoltman had a better pulling record, and so did Maxime Boudreau than Trey Mitchell, but Trey really showed up here and got more points. His pull was 45.72 seconds. Trey Mitchell now with 24 points overall after 4 events, in 4th place overall. Brian Shaw, who we expected to really excel at the bus pull with 9 points, comes away with 7 points instead, so he does underachieve. He had a 76.67 rating coming in, so it was very high. And I think Brian, the reason I have this highlighted yellow is a lot of these guys I had to use truck pulls or other type of pulls because they never pulled a bus. Brian, Luke, and Athor, I think, actually have done bus pulls. So that's what the yellow means. So I had actual apples-to-apples comparison. A 44.69 second pull for Brian, good enough for 23.5 points overall, and 5th place overall for Brian Shaw at this point. Moving on up the list, we had expected 3 points out of Tom Stoltman based on past pulling performances. He comes away with 8 instead, so a giant overachievement for Tom Stoltman, continuing the trend of doing better than expected in almost everything. 48.57 was his rating coming in, so as you can see, it's lower than everybody else we have on the screen, but yet 8 points for Tom Stoltman with a 44.5 second pull. He is now at 34.5 points overall and 2nd place overall. Martins Litsius, who we had expected to win this event, actually gets 9, so very close. He does underachieve, but only very slightly. Research had showed him with an 80 rating out of a possible 100, very, very high rating there. He does a 42.18 second pull. Martins now 29 points overall and in podium position in 3rd place. Alexei Novikov, who we had expected to do poorly here because of his size, I think everybody did. 2 points expected, 10 points gained. Alexei with his now third win out of 4 events in the World's Strongest Man final, just giving his everything to try to win this World's Strongest Man championship this year. Overachieves significantly by a bigger margin than anybody else on any event. And research showed a 43.97 rating for him on bus pull, which is below average and just wins the event anyway. 41.51 seconds. Now 38 points overall, and Alexei Novikov solidly in first place overall after the bus pull. So that's how the Sacramento City bus pull shook out at World's Strongest Man 2022. As we start to draw to a close, let's have a look at what happened at the Duck Walk Power Stairs medley. So as a reminder, this was supposed to be about 5 to 8 meters of duck walking a given implement, and then continue and walk it up. I believe it's 3 stairs. So it's duck walk into power stairs with the same implement. Then you go back and get the next implement and do the same thing. I believe the best performers did 9 implements. So that would tell me they were 3 different weights and 3 stairs. 3 times 3 is 9. So let's have a look. Gabriel Rayom, who we predicted to get 2 points here, came away with 1. So does underperform. His rating 45.88 in power stairs. He did 5 implements in 35.78 seconds. So, of course, it seems like did not finish all of the implements on all the stairs. That would seem like he got to the second implement 2 steps up, not all the way up. And then perhaps just couldn't continue. It doesn't sound like a round timing, so that would tell me that he just couldn't continue anymore. And that is what we'll probably see with a lot of the athletes here. So 8 points overall for Gabriel Rayom and 10th place overall. Next up on the Duck Walk Power Stairs performances, we had Trey Mitchell, who we had expected big things from. 8 points. He comes away only with 2, so underachieves quite a bit there. Research was 67.5 rating for him, but Trey does do 6 of the implements in 70.22 seconds, now with 26 points total and in 6th place overall. Next up, Athor Melstead, we had expected to get 1 point here. He comes away with 3 instead, so he does overachieve. Research for Athor was only a 22.86 rating, so he does much better than that. 6 implements in 35.78 seconds, so the same number of implements, but in half the time of Trey Mitchell. 9 points overall now after 5 events for Athor Melstead in 9th place overall. Alexei Novikov predicted to get 4 points, in fact does get 4 points, so performs right on target based on his research rating of 53.33 out of a possible 100. He does 6 implements in 34.2 seconds, has an incredible 42 points overall, but now finally in 2nd place overall, not in 1st place anymore. And, after winning 3 events at World's Strongest Man, finally starting to show some chinks in the armor here. So we'll see what happens. Luke Stoltman, the next best performance. He did 7 implements in 59.47 seconds, as you can see here. We predicted him to get 6 points. He gets 5, so does slightly less than expected with his 60 rating coming in. 25.5 points total for Luke Stoltman, 7th place overall. Mitchell Hooper, who we expected to get 3 points here, actually comes away with 6 points, overachieves substantially here, does pretty well in the Duck Walk Power Stairs. 7 implements in 32.36 seconds, so I'm not seeing anybody completing the course yet, but 28 points overall for Mitchell Hooper and currently in 5th place overall. Brian Shaw, who we expected to do very, very well here based on his 77 rating coming in with 9 points, actually comes in with 7 points, so maybe the pattern we're seeing Brian slowing down a little bit as Father Time starts to catch up with a guy of his size, but still very much in contention. Underachieves by a little bit on this event. 8 implements, however, in 69.03 seconds, so the first guy we see to do 8 implements. 30.5 points for Brian overall, and 4th place total overall in the contest. Martins Litsias, who we expected to win this event, actually gets 8 points, so he underachieves by a little bit as well, but still a good performance. He had an 82.5 rating coming in this type of event, and Martins actually does all 9 implements in 44.56 seconds. A total of 37 points for Martins now, keeping himself in 3rd place here in podium position. Tom Stoltman, who we predicted to get 7 points, in fact gets 9, and again, I seem like a broken record, overperforming on just about every event, some of them very slightly and some of them by a bigger margin, like the truck pull. I know everybody said Tom's going to be good at truck pull, but none of his historical competition showed that. So Anyway, 9 points for Tom Stoltman, a very good overachievement here. Research for him was a 60 rating. He definitely did better than that. All 9 implements in 41.04 seconds. We're now at 43.5 total points for Tom Stoltman, who has now catapulted himself into first place overall, into contention to win this thing back-to-back now. And then we have Maxime Boudreau, who we predicted for 5 points, despite all of the pleadings and better judgment of my good friend Eloi Fournier of Strongman Archives, he just knew that Maxime was going to win the Power Stairs Duck Walk Medley, or the Duck Walk Power Stairs Medley, and I should have listened to him because Maxime did win it. 60 rating coming in, but as Eloi so eloquently pointed out to me, that was mixed in or aggregated with results from Canada's Strongest, where Maxime had a broken finger, so kind of skewed the results of what he's capable of healthy. And yes, in fact, Maxime Boudreau ends up winning the Duck Walk Power Stairs Medley, 9 implements in 39.07 seconds, moving himself up to 7th place overall now with a total of 25.5 total points in the contest. So that being said, that's how Duck Walk Power Stairs Medley shook out at World's Strongest Man 2022. Let's have a look at the dramatic final event, the legendary Atlas Stones. So the Atlas Stones, the traditional way to finish up World's Strongest Man, and World's Strongest Man 2022 was no different. We finished with the Atlas Stones, where everybody has their last chance to cement their point standings and get on that podium. So how did it all shake out? Well, shockingly, Alexei Novikov comes away with only 1 point. We had predicted him to get 5, which already isn't a great finish, but underachieves even that substantially. 1 point for him. I don't know what happened. I've heard rumors that just he gave so much of himself to the other events that didn't have enough left to finish off strong on the Atlas Stones. He didn't even get all 5, 4 of them in 36.7 seconds. Mitch Hooper next, we had predicted for 2 points on Atlas Stones, gets just that, 2 points. He did 4 stones in 33.78 seconds. Gabriel Rayom, we were predicted for 4 points. He comes away with 3 points, 4 stones in 33.55 seconds. We expected Athor Melstead to come away with 1 point based on his 40 rating coming in. In fact, overachieves that by quite a bit. 4 points for Athor, 4 stones in 28.87 seconds. Luke Stoltman, who we had expected to come away with 3 points here, overachieves that by a little bit. 5 points for him, with 4 stones in 25.78 seconds for Luke Stoltman. Martins Litzes, who we had expected based on his Inverstone performance last year to do 9 points, in fact does 6 points here. 5 stones in 45.74 seconds, telling us Atlas Stones and Natural Stones are real different from each other. Brian Shaw performing right where we expected. 7 points predicted based on past data, and 7 points is right what he did. Had an 86.1 rating, which is exceptionally high. We just had, several other guys with higher ratings, unbelievably. But Brian does 5 stones in 39.29 seconds, kind of confirming the fact that he is no longer the best stone lifter in the world. We kind of felt like he might still be number 2 after Tom Stoltman, but as you'll see us work our way up the list, I think Maxime Boudreau has cemented himself as the number 2 stone lifter in the world now. You'll see that in a moment. And Trey Mitchell as well. So I think Trey Mitchell also has leapfrogged Brian. We expected 6 points out of Trey. Trey outperforms Brian Shaw by a point, gets 8 points, so overachieves there. 5 stones in 33.06 seconds. That's 6 seconds faster, substantially faster. So we'll have to revisit our stone rankings. Maxime Boudreau, expected to get 8 points, does even better than that. 9 points on the Atlas Stones, comes in 2nd place, overperforms again on Atlas Stones. 5 stones in 28.04 seconds, so I'll just put an exclamation point on that one, saying this is the 2nd World's Strongest Man in a row where Maxime has done a better job in Atlas Stones than the legendary Atlas Stone lifter Brian Shaw. So you got to count Maxime as perhaps the 2nd best stone lifter in the world. And the first one everybody knows is Tom Stoltman, who wins this event 10-10. We expected him to win the event. He did win the event. His research data coming in was an incredible 96 rating. He does all 5 stones in 25.76 seconds. Tom Stoltman wins the Atlas Stones, and that'll lead us to go take a look at our leaderboard and see who won World's Strongest Man, who is on the podium, what are all the finishes, and what we think of all those finishes. So let's go have a look at that. But before that, I'll say Tom Stoltman's the greatest Atlas Stone lifter in the world. Maxime's number 2, Trey's number 3, and Brian's number 4. I think we've seen enough head-to-head to confirm that at the moment. So all that being said, let's take a look at the overall standings for World's Strongest Man 2022. First, we have Gabriel Rayom, who we expected to come in 9th place. In fact, comes in 10th place, so underperforms by 1. He has 11 points total. Next is Athor Melstead. So they kind of flip-flopped. We expected him to come in 10th place. He comes in 9th place, so performs a bit better than expected. 13 points total for Athor Melstead. Mitchell Hooper, who we expected to take 6th place overall, comes in 8th place, so underperforms that by a little bit. We predicted him to get 32.5 points, comes away with 30 points. Luke Stoltman performed right on target. Expectation based on the data was 7th place. He does come away with 7th place. 30.5 points, almost exactly the predicted total for Luke Stoltman. So actually outperforms the total points by half a point, but the placing exactly where we had expected. Trey Mitchell, we expected to make 4th place. In fact, makes 6th place at World's Strongest Man 2022, so underperforms that by a little bit, but always a great accomplishment to make the finals in the first place. 36.5 points expected for Trey, comes away with 34 points. And then we have Maxime Boudreau, who we expected to be in 8th place, with a few good performances, especially the win in the power stairs, propels himself up into 5th place, so does 3 places better than expected. That's what that green -3 is. And a very good total of 34.5 points for Maxime Boudreau in 5th place. 4th place goes to Brian Shaw, who unfortunately misses the podium and unfortunately does not get his 5th World's Strongest Man title, as I know was very important to him. But 4th place for Brian Shaw, we did expect him to be on the podium at 3, very close to that, but misses it by just 1 placing. 37.5 points for Brian Shaw instead of the expected 40.5. 2nd place goes to Alexei Novikov, and it's actually becomes 3rd place because of a tie. So Alexei Novikov and Martins Licis end up in a tie at 2nd place. Martins has a better performance in the Atlas Stone, so he is awarded 2nd place. Alexei Novikov is awarded 3rd place. So Alexei was expected to get 5th place based on these events, overachieves in a few of them with 3 wins, amazingly, 3 wins, and still doesn't win World's Strongest Man because of whatever happened in the Atlas Stones. Perhaps just gave too much of himself in the previous events, but 3 wins at World's Strongest Man out of the final events is unbelievable. Comes away in 3rd place overall with 43 points. Martins Licis also 43 points, and as mentioned, that gets him solidly in 2nd place because of his better Atlas Stone performance. And of course, that leaves your winner. You can do it by process of elimination. The repeat champion, Tom Stoltman, who wins by a large margin. In fact, he won by as big of a margin pretty much as I expected Martins to win by, and it just didn't happen. Martins Licis didn't have a great start, but really did a lot to propel himself right back up into number 2 at the end. So give him credit, but give a lot more credit to Tom Stoltman for being predicted 2nd place, which is very, very high, but in fact winning, doing one better, and first back-to-back champion, I believe, since Brian Shaw. 53.5 points, so a huge wins by a huge, huge margin. Tom Stoltman, as we take a look through here, overachieves in every area, except Atlas Stones, which everybody thought he would win in. But Giants Medley, that green one, so look for greens. He overachieves in Giants Medley. He overachieves in deadlift by 3 points. He overachieves in Flintstone press by 1.5 points. He overachieves in bus pull by 5 points. He overachieves in duck walk power stairs by 2 points. And Atlas Stones, right at the excellence we expected for him to win. And same thing was in the heats. If you remember all of my reviews of the heats, you'll see Tom Stoltman did similar. So here's Tom Stoltman, and as you look across, overachieving everywhere, greens everywhere. Overachieves in loading race, in deadlift ladder, in car walk by 2 places, in log press by a point. Wrecking ball hold, the only one he didn't overachieve in, and that's because he didn't have to try. He just picked it up and put it down. So you can't dispute the guy did as well or better than expected in every facet of World's Strongest Man 2022 and totally deserved to win it by the margin he won it by. Congratulations to the 2022 World's Strongest Man winner and big overachiever, Tom Stoltman. We'll see you next time where I'll take a compilation of all the events and tell you with all the groups and all the finals who overachieved the most, who underachieved the most, who was in the middle. I think you'll find it very interesting. And of course, until then, as always, ciao, homie.